Hello and welcome to another episode of Pixel Shade. My name is Dennis and in this video we will go through my personal top 5 games that have been extremely influential on me as a game developer, as well as in our upcoming game Unsung. So with this being said, a little disclaimer first. These are my personal picks, they do not represent the whole creative team. So both Gustav and Mikael, they have their own frame of references as well. And since it's a collaborative project, we take inspirations from tons of places and we just can't fit that into one video. But with this being said, Unsung started with me and I just thought it would be fun to dig into what kind of games inspired me in the first place. So just sit back and relax and we'll jump right in. First off, we have Alley Cat for IBM PCs back in 1984. So this is the time where I realize how old I truly am, but to be fair, Alley Cat is actually one of my first memories ever. I must have been around 3 years old, and I only have vague memories from that time. I'm 100% certain that I played it in 1985 on my neighbor's IBM compatible, because it was the year before I got my first personal computer. To be fair, it isn't a very good game by today's standards, but I remember at the time that I was completely mesmerized by being able to control a cat that was, in my eyes, on the TV. And the thing is, I've never been told this story by my parents or anyone really. It just stuck with me throughout life as one of the most influential childhood memories. I never knew what the game was called, and to be honest, there were so many cool games growing up that I never really had the urge to look it up. But I did remember those stark CGA colors, and they just stuck with me all those years. In the mid-2000s, I looked it up, and the game was exactly how I remembered it. From that day on, there was never a doubt in my mind. Having a cat as a main character in my first game meant that I would go full circle in life and somehow get back to the time where it all started. But well, over time, not only was the cat a nice nod to my childhood, but it also became an integral part of the storytelling in Unsung. Something I will probably cover in a future episode. I don't know if you realize this, but the title screen of Unsung also takes on one of the CGA palettes, as a nod to Alley Cat, my first childhood memory. In 1986, I remember my dad driving me home from preschool, and I was just minding my own business until I saw it. Ah yes, the Commodore 64. Such a beautiful machine, and such an important and integral part of my childhood. I remember it so fondly. The graphics, the sound of the SID chip, the TAC2. My dad, being an Hungarian immigrant, always wanted us to have everything a typical Swedish family had. We didn't have much money at the time, but he and my mom worked hard, and sure, instead of buying excess of stuff for me and my brother, they bought a few but very nice and important things for us. And looking back at it, I have no clue how they managed to do this under the constraints of their economy. But the thing was, me and my brother, we never really missed out on anything. We played a lot of wonderful arcade conversions, and to this day I hold the C64 very dear to my heart. But to be fair, the magic of Alley Cat hadn't really been conquered until... In 1989, after playing games with 16 colors and low resolution, one day we went to our neighbor, the very same neighbor where I played Alley Cat for the first time. This time around he had a new computer at home, and it was the Commodore Amiga 500. I remember sitting there, watching this white screen with a hand holding a diskette, in anticipation of what kind of wonders this machine would bring. But boy, wasn't I ready for this. Well, I couldn't believe my eyes or my ears just seeing this environment. I've never seen anything quite like it. The parallax scrolling created an incredible sensation of depth in the landscape that I've just never witnessed before. And the music, well, it sounded like it was played by real people. And then you had this eerie atmosphere, together with the heartbeat that was complemented by a nightmarish setting. Well, it made this experience something truly special. I didn't know it back then, but what Shadow of the Beast taught me was how important it was to have a cohesive artistic vision for a game. Although not obvious, once you start peeling the layers of Unsung, you realize that a lot of inspiration can be traced to Shadow of the Beast. Wonderboy and Monsterland. Well, I guess the biggest appeal of this game was the fact that you could actually go into buildings, ask for rumors and secrets, go into shops and buy things that would have fundamental changes to gameplay. Things like upgrading your shoes to move faster, which was increasingly important due to that shitty timer. And then the upgraded shield could deflect projectiles like arrows, and the armor allowed you to take more damage, while getting a better sword would increase your attack power. Standard stuff in today's games, but back then it was truly revolutionary for me. Well, this will time into the next game as well. However, this game I didn't play on the Amiga. I played it on the Game Gear, a portable system. Well, it saved me from boredom during our annual 24-hour long drive sessions to meet up with family and friends down in Hungary. And taking this system with me during those long trips in the backseat made them so much more enjoyable. Although I spent all my hard-earned money on games and purchased some of the best ones on the system, there was one in particular that stood out and was better than the rest. Sega! Wonderboy the Dragon's Trap was an amazing game. Even by today's standards, with the recent remake of the title, you can really tell how the gameplay stood the tests of time. And in all its simplicity, it still manages to keep me going for hours. And I know a lot of people played The Legend of Zelda, Metroid prior to this, but to me, as a child, this was my very first experience with an open, interconnected world. It brought everything that was good with Wonderboy and Monsterland and expanded upon that idea. There were no levels, just a large world to explore, either gated by different characters you would later transform into, or through upgrades such as the magical sword. I was rewarded to play, and it was rewarding to explore, and I could sink hours into the game uncovering all its secrets. And this is something that will always stick with me when creating Unsung, creating this vast world that just holds so many mysteries in it. But anyway, with all these games covered, there was one game that just managed to deliver everything into such a lovely package. When I played this for the first time, I wasn't playing a game. I was invited to a completely different world. A Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. What a game this was. I remember borrowing the Super Nintendo from a friend of mine in exchange for my Sega Game Gear for 3 days, and I played this game non-stop. I think the biggest difference in comparison to all previous experiences is how it invites you into a world that just felt alive. The game world is so grounded in the large map with tons of inhabitants to interact with, secrets to uncover, and a world to explore. I remember one thing specifically, and that was once you got the flippers in the game, I was just curious if you could swim underneath a bridge, only to find a man living there. That moment was extremely appealing to me because those details truly made the world of A Link to the Past feel alive. And although I'm making a side-scrolling game similar to Shadow of the Beast and the Wonderboy games, the perfection of A Link to the Past will always stick with me, a perfection that I think most developers aspire to achieve. Well, I hope you got some enjoyment out of looking at some oddball games from my childhood. Well, I know they aren't the best games. I mean, some of them are better than the others, but I hold them very dear, and they've had a profound impact on my childhood. So what I would love you to do is to write down in the comments below if you have any games that you hold dear. I love reading through them and replying to your comments. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching and sticking around until the end, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.